everybody. My name's Darius Kazemi. I'm an internet artist, and Jim invited me to sort of reinterpret this HyperCard-based hypertext novel that I had never heard of before. But I was very familiar with HyperCard. For those of you who don't know about HyperCard, it was an incredible piece of software. I used it a lot when I was like 11, 12, 13 years old. It was just installed on the Macs in the computer lab in my middle school where I was. And when I'd finish the lab stuff super early, and I would just sit down at HyperCard and I would make weird games where you would like beat up a frog or something. And you can program HyperCard using like a drag and drop kind of thing. You know, you sort of draw a frog and then you put buttons on the frog, and then you can like sort of hook up different pictures, have it make kind of like a choose your own adventure. It's really easy to make a choose your own adventure where you just sort of click around and go from one page to another. And so that's what I would do. I didn't really think too much about it. I didn't even really consider it programming when I was a kid. I knew what programming was. It was looking at tons of text on a screen and doing this a lot. And I was using my mouse. That wasn't programming. And so I didn't touch HyperCard again until a couple of months ago. And it took a while to get it running on a modern computer. It took me like a month of like messing around until I finally got it set up the way that I wanted to. But once I had it open, I kind of had a blast. And I was sort of, I was really surprised at how modern HyperCard was. The version that I was using had come out in like 1992 or something, so it was over 20 years old. But you know, I was moved to tweeting about it. You know, HyperCard 2.4 is as good as, if not better, than many modern development environments. And I can sort of open up this image in a big tab here. And so, you know, I never did any of this when I was a kid, but this is what working in HyperCard as a professional programmer looks like. You know, I have all the source code over here to the right, and then I have, this is the actual HyperCard thing that I was testing in. This is actually just a manual for HyperCard itself. One of the cool things, just like you can sort of view source on a website and see the source code for any website that you're on, most HyperCard stacks, you can similarly view the source of the HyperCard stack and learn how it was put together. And so, you know, this is me pulling, this is actually the instructions on how to debug a script, and I'm debugging the instructions on how to debug the script. And I have some documentation open here, and I have a variable watcher down here, so I can say, you know, keep track of this value, and whenever it changes, it'll update, and it'll tell me what the value is, so I don't have to like ask for it all the time. And I have a checkpoint set over there, so I can say when you get to this part of the code, you know, if I'm testing and you get to this part of the code, stop, so I can like inspect where everything is, see where all the data is and what's going on. And this was great for 1992, and it's actually pretty great for today. Most people today with modern development tools would be happy to have this at their disposal. And so that was just kind of like a really cool, interesting thing to see. HyperCard uses a language called HyperTalk. It's a very literary programming language. So the source code is this is from a little piece of code that sort of does a William Burroughs style cut up of any source text. So you give it a bunch of text, and this is from the Funhouse. And what this does is it basically, you give it 100 words and it basically shuffles them around, more or less. And so, you know, set the cursor to 4, put field 1 into burrow in, put the number of words of burrow in into burrow words, put 1 into counter, put burrow words into message. And it sort of reads like English. One of the issues with programming languages that read like English is they can lead you to believe that that you can get away with stuff that you can't. So you might assume some normal human language stuff would just work, because all the other human language stuff works, and then it doesn't, and you're like, you're tearing your hair out. But for the most part, I found this really cool. It's actually not that dissimilar from JavaScript. So if you're familiar at all with JavaScript, learning HyperTalk is like not that different. So you know, I just got lost in HyperCard. Like that was the first part of this project for me, was just getting lost in HyperCard and the pleasures of HyperCard and looking up all the old out-of-date manuals. And I went to my library and I found a book this thick on HyperTalk with an amazing cover. Actually, I can probably find it. It's worth showing you the cover, I think. Yeah, I'm just looking. Here it is. Okay. Just pull it over here. Great. I the book. It's awesome. Tuxedos. Yeah, tuxedos. They didn't. This is back. They didn't know what to put on the cover of programming books. So I guess I just asked the authors to dress up in tuxedos and have like their high school reunion photo taken, or like prom or something, I guess. So I found myself checking out all these old books from the library because there's no actual resources for HyperTalk programming online. There's a couple, but they're not very good. And it was really helpful to have these thick old books. And so that was really fun as well. Just sitting down with it's not often that I sit down with a programming book. Usually I'm just looking things up on Stack Overflow or something if I'm trying to figure out how to work through a programming problem. And so then I actually got sucked into Uncle Buddy's Phantom Funhouse itself. I remember being about an hour into it and just looking up and like looking over to my wife and going like, this is really good. This is really good. It's an amazing work. It's an amazing novel. And just everything I saw, I just wanted to share with the world. But the part that resonated the most with me was there's this tarot deck in the middle of it, sort of in a section called the Oracle that Jim sort of alluded to earlier and showed a picture of. And so so what I did, okay, I'll move these guys off the screen now. So what I did was I wanted to extract all this stuff from HyperCard, because the problem with HyperCard is it only runs on Mac OS 9 or earlier. It doesn't run on OS X, so you have to emulate OS 9. And so I had to run 3 different emulators to eventually get HyperCard to run on my own computer, and then I had to write some scripts to export the pictures of all the cards. And they only export to an old Mac Paint format, and then I had to spend 3 hours figuring out how to convert those old Mac Paint pictures to an intermediary file format that then I could go to PNG. So that was a lot of work. And I also extracted the text to go with the cards too. I don't have the actual tarot reading in slides or anything here, but basically the way that it works is there's X number of cards, something like 50 or 30 or something, and every card has 4 possible kind of readings that come with it, and the cards have their own sort of positions in this sort of cosmology of the world, and I just really loved the pictures. I thought they were beautiful. So I ended up, here's an early thing that I did. So this is just every, here, I'll make that full screen. This is just every card, and it's 4 possible readings, although most of them lack this second reading. I was talking to John earlier, and he said it's because he didn't have time to finish writing all of them. So most of them have 3 different readings. And I just thought, I love the art on all of these. The sort of, all the pictures in this they're just black and white. There's no grayscale. Every gray that you see in there is dithered. It's like a checkerboard pattern to sort of create the illusion of gray, kind of like newsprint, very similar to like a black and white newspaper. And so this was like an early thing. I just wanted to get all of these in front of me and sort of look at them. So after doing that and sitting with that for a little bit, I make a lot of Twitter bots in my practice as an artist. And so the first thing that I did was I made a bot called Phantom Funhouse. And Phantom Funhouse just pulls a card from the deck 4 times a day, and it pulls tweet-sized readings from the cards. So some of the readings are longer than tweets, and I just throw those away because who needs information if it's less than more than 140 characters, right? And then it's only been running for a couple days, so and sometimes there's no text that comes with it that's appropriate for nothingness here. But it's only been running for a couple of days right now. But yeah, so this Twitter bot just draws cards and gives you a reading. And then the other thing that is not quite finished but is getting there is here, let me. So this is a, let me make that, oh come on, full screen. That's very strange. I don't know why it's not full screening, but, oh, there we go, okay. And so what this does is it uses a basic cross layout that you might do for a tarot reading. And you can just, it gives you 5 cards to begin with, and you can lay them out in here. And then it puts them all into a tarot reading for you. And I'm working to make this networked, actually. So what I want to do in the end is have the whole deck just splayed out on the table, and it's only one canonical deck for everybody in the world. So if I look at this page and you look at this page, it's the same thing, and so we can update our readings in real time, and just everybody. It's kind of like everybody in the world has access to the same table and the same readings and all of that. So so I hope it becomes chaotic, right? You load it up and you see cards just moving around of their own volition because somebody else is sort of logged into it and playing around, and then you can kind of fight with each other over what you're. I just like the idea of how chaotic that might be if a lot of people join up to put it all together. So there's 100 different things that I wanted to do with Uncle Buddy's Phantom Funhouse, but the tarot just jumped out at me. And that's what I went with. But I think I'm probably going to do a lot more just over time. And it's just a fascinating, just collection of bite-sized things that are all related to one another. It's a hypertext novel, and so it's just very suited to the things like Twitter and the internet in general and all that. So I expect to continue, mining the Funhouse for more fun stuff. But yeah, so that's what I did.
Thanks very much.